Welcome to Bible, Bravery, and Bullshit. Sorry, Mom, with Pastor Dan Miner, the unapologetic podcast for those tearing down old beliefs, choosing deconstruction, or those who have walked away from traditional faith. If you're questioning, evolving, or just plain fed up with the modern Christian machine, you're in the right place. Hey, you might laugh, cry, maybe get pissed off, or who knows, get inspired to keep up the good fight. You can follow me or Harvest Church on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook to get connected. The links are in the description of this podcast. Here we go. We're back with Bible, Bravery, and Bullshit. I'm Dan Miner, and today I want to talk to you about something that might sound a little controversial, might get your feathers in a ruffle. Is that what they say? Might have you grabbing the pitchforks and coming for me. The idea here today for this quick little 8-minute or so podcast, we usually like to keep them so that you can listen on your drive to work, is what if heaven is not the point or the only point? Now, just relax for a second. I'm not saying heaven doesn't exist. I'm not saying there isn't an afterlife. I think the truth is none of us know exactly what that looks like anyway. What I'm saying is that a lot of us inherit a version of Christianity that treats life like an escape room. You've ever been to an escape room before? You know, the whole game, that life is just about when do we get out of here? How do we get out of here? And maybe even let's see how we can expedite that. That sounds like I'm condoning something, but I'm not. Hey, you get the point. Life is the test, earth is temporary, and heaven is the prize. And, you just hold on long enough, behave yourself, say the prayers, and eventually you get out of here. But the problem is that theology, that kind of theology, doesn't just shape what we believe, it shapes, I think, how we live. And this is my theory. Because if the world is disposable, then the people in it start to feel disposable too. I'm really trying to explain some of what we're feeling and experiencing in the world today, and why seemingly people who profess to follow the teachings of Jesus seem so far from the humanity that Jesus fought for and the way he lived his life. So let's just check this out for a moment, because if the world is disposable and people start to feel disposable too, if everything is burning anyways, then why invest in justice? Why invest in healing? Why invest in people who are hurting? Why fix something, essentially, if God's going to scrap the whole thing later? And I think that mindset sneaks in without us even realizing it. We start looking past the people right in front of us because we're so focused on getting somewhere else. Like, if this is all temporary, why give a crap? That mindset, I think we start looking past people. And here's the thing, Jesus never talked like that. Jesus' favorite phrase wasn't get to heaven. His favorite phrase, if you will, was the kingdom of God. And when Jesus talked about the kingdom of God, he almost never meant a location. He meant what life looks like when God's love is in charge. That's why when Jesus teaches people to pray, he says, "Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, "Get us out of here." He said, "Bring heaven here." And a lot of people have taken this in this whole kingdom movement and thought it was about, people flopping on the floor, doing weird stuff, blowing the shofar. I don't know. All the stuff. At one time I saw somebody literally do a whole butterfly dance in the middle of worship, and it was just weird. Or somebody starts spinning so fast on a stage that they hooked the trombone player's slide and slung it across the stage. They think that's the kingdom of heaven, is getting together and maybe having some sort of, for lack of a better term, spiritual masturbation of just, hey, let's see how worked up we can get. But when we leave here, we're going to treat the person in the drive-thru like shit. That's what we've seen the kingdom of God, quote unquote, be shown to be. That's the examples we've been given. But when we watch the life of Jesus, this is what he does. He feeds people. He heals people. He forgives people. He doesn't do rainbow dances. He restores people. He lifts people out of systems that crush them. He doesn't say, hang in there heaven is coming. He said, let's start changing things right now. And honestly, I saw something this week that drove that point home for me. I was driving down the road with my daughter. It was actually a couple weeks ago when I saw a car drifting towards an intersection. And this guy was having a seizure. His car was rolling forward. There's traffic everywhere. And I couldn't believe how many cars were just driving by him as this guy headed for an intersection that had cars crossing it at 40, 45 miles an hour. You know, like people were just like, nope, that's not my problem. And I really believe that that's the way a lot of people are doing life. Like, that doesn't affect me. It's not my problem. People are getting, shot in the street, or their families are being divided, or people are being sent off to a war, or whatever it might be. And it's like, well, it's not my problem. It doesn't affect me. Or, a queer person's being treated horribly in a school system, whatever it might be. It's like, it doesn't affect me. No big deal. So, I won't get into the whole story, but I had to do something and stop the car and get in the window and all that. And that thing stuck with me afterward. It wasn't just the adrenaline. It was how easy it was for people to disconnect. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to punch their way through car windows to show that they care, but it made me think about something. If we really believe that the world doesn't matter, if we really believe the whole point is escaping to heaven, it becomes easier to look at the suffering and think, well, somebody else will deal with that. But man, Jesus never let people do that. The whole arc of the gospel is about restoration. It's really about getting involved in the process of change. Even the Bible's Bible's final vision in Revelation doesn't show people escaping earth. It actually shows God coming down. Creation isn't abandoned in that story. It's healed, which means what we do here on earth matters. How we treat people matters. Whether we speak up for justice matters. Whether we show up for the hurting matters. And right now in our world, there are a lot of people suffering while the church sits back and debates theology. There are kids being abused, families torn apart, as I mentioned, people being used as political footballs, and a lot of pulpits are silent. And that silence, man, it doesn't look like the divine. Jesus flipped tables when people use religion to protect systems that harm the vulnerable. So maybe the question isn't, are we getting into heaven? Maybe the question is, what are we doing with life, the life we've been given right now? Because if heaven is real, and I hope it is, then living like Jesus here isn't a distraction from heaven, it's preparation for it. The gospel isn't an escape plan. It's a restoration plan. And maybe the real invitation of faith isn't waiting to leave earth. Maybe it's helping bring heaven here. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you soon. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. And if you'd like to support our nonprofit, you can go to harvestsarasota.com and click the Give tab. One of the greatest ways you can tell us this podcast helped you is by liking, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing with your friends. Till next time, keep asking questions, be patient with yourself, and find someone to show some love this week.